Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Three Martini Lunch. It is a national virtual networking event with the best panelists in the industry. These are entrepreneurs. These are free people. These are people that have their photo upside down on the screen. We'll take care of that. Rockstar Connect powers this event. Rockstar event does business networking events all over the country. We have an enormous nation of people that have gone to our events that believe in helping one another and assisting one another to live that freedom life, that free life. This week, I decided to bring, instead of Santa beard, I thought I'd bring my Rasputin Mad Monk beard to the table. And I think I'm pulling it off pretty well. Tell me if I'm wrong, a little bit of Mad Monk going on. I am in my office for the first time. I've been moving for what seems like indefinitely, but it's really only been a month of moving. 8 trucks. I don't know how many times I've been to the dump. Luckily, nowadays it's so much easier to move because there's so many services out there that you can just contact on an app and they send people to lift heavy stuff for you. I think that is like the pinnacle of civilization. People will lift your stuff for you. And if you want, you can even ask them where you should have the stuff lifted to, and they'll put it in those places for you. So it definitely makes it a lot easier. Christina, you're still upside down. Alan, maybe you can text her a little bit of help there. Alan is our producer in the Philippines. He does all things technical for Rockstar Connect. He is not responsible for Christina being upside down, though. That is completely her own doing. But we're going to get that fixed momentarily. But if you go online and you see anything from Rockstar Connect, any social media posts, any videos, any graphics, any design, Alan and his team creates that for us on a daily basis. It's amazing what they're able to do, and thank God for them. Today we have a great question. This is a question I see a lot of times in the forum. It's nothing that I've ever asked you guys before, but Jenny, right before we came on, Game Changer, she says, what if I don't want to answer that question? Can I just leave? And I said, we'll do it even better. If you don't want to answer this question, if you don't feel it applies to you, or you don't like this question, make your own question up and answer that question. We're going to do that just this week. If you do not like the question, you can make up your own question. Tell us what that question is and you can answer it. Do you like that, Domenic?
You there, Domenic? I guess. What was the original question? Just popped in. Okay.
I was talking to Jay, by the way. Kitchen is like ready to be cooked in.
Nice. All right. All right. I'm coming. Let's do this.
And bar is ready to be drinking in. That's what I was going to say. That's what Sarah's most. That's her room. And my room is the kitchen. Her room is the bar. And today they set up our music, so we're very excited. And so here's the question this week. In real estate, this happens very often, and I know it happens in every other business. You are a successful entrepreneur, professional. You have your sign out there for business. Everyone trusts you and uses you and loves you, right, Frank? Everyone thinks you're great, except your own family, friends, and colleagues. They don't use you, right? They don't use you. So we're going to make this a sort of open question. Of course, you don't have to answer this question. You can state your own question and answer it. What do you do when your friends do not use you in business? What do you do? I'll give you an example of this. I had a friend, a pretty close friend, and he actually called me on the phone. This was a number of years ago. And he said, I really have a dilemma here. I've used real estate agents in the past that were my friends. It never worked out well, and it ended the friendships. I'm not sure whether I should use you as a real estate agent. And I said to him, I got an idea. You can either use me and see if we'll still be friends, or don't use me and guarantee we won't be friends. So he chose to use me. He decided not to give up on me, and he had a very successful transaction and was able to move forward. But frequently I will see people online that I'm friends with that have said that they will use me, and they don't, and I'm okay with that because I'm of the belief that the business that belongs to me, I will receive, and the business that I don't get belongs to someone else. That's someone else's business, and it happened for a reason. But let's move forward with this. I think John Fitzgerald will have some great stories about this because he is a raconteur and a storyteller.
Yeah, I've only done two things in my life: restaurants and real estate. And so for the longest time, I was known for bartending, working in restaurants. So I get into real estate, and I started new construction. And I had that exact same thing happen to me, Stephen. I had a guy that worked for me in the restaurant, and he and his fiance were going to buy a house, and I was working with a home builder. And so, he came and talked to me, and then he used somebody else who was much more experienced, and it hurt. So I get it personally. And then as I coach and teach and train, I tell all of my students, all my agents, that your friends and family are going to be the hardest people that you're going to actually get direct business, that they're going to actually do business with you, until they overcome the preconceived notion of who you were. See, I was a bartender. Who the heck's going to buy a house from a bartender? I don't know anything about real estate, don't know anything about construction, don't know anything about finance. But my mentor said, John, I can't teach them to be you. And so over time, the skill sets I had added to the knowledge I gained gave me experience. So I explained to them that they may not be able to give you business, but they know someone. So your friends know you often in ways that may not be congruent with what you're currently doing professionally, and they got to overcome that. And that's on you to provide value, to show them that you are trustworthy. So that answer to my question is, I've got to own up to the reasons why my friends still think of me as a drunk bartender, and give them a reason to trust me as a sober real estate broker. There's my answer. How's that?
Great. It's very I mean, when I first got into real estate, I had to overcome the fact that I sold books for 15 years, and people saw me as the book guy.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I got over that is I didn't go after anyone in my sphere, my sphere of influence. I created a new sphere of influence. People that didn't see me as a book guy, and they would say, "Well, what is your experience?" And I would say, "Well, I have 30 years of sales experience." I didn't go into a lot of detail of what I sold, but I had 30 years of experience in negotiation.
Yeah. Customer service is strong in the restaurant business. I'm a 20-year customer service expert.
Right. So now when you're doing coaching, is that something that they come to you a lot with, the newer agents?
Yeah, because on the one hand, that's what we teach, is your sphere of influence. If in order to build a long and sustaining real estate career, you have to have a good sphere of influence. You have to lean on them. So I have to explain to them that how to talk to your current sphere, and it's not, are you going to buy or sell a house from me? It's, who do you know that I need to know? So it's a different conversation for the sphere until you get to the point where, like you did, you expand your sphere. And all of a sudden now the new people that I'm getting introduced to, they don't know who I was. They know who I am. So you start with your sphere to build your sphere. I don't tell them to start with your sphere to build transactions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
I want you to use your sphere to multiply your sphere. Introduce me to people that you know. You don't have to use me yet, but introduce me to people you know, and eventually they'll come around.
And sometimes you may not even want to do business with the people that you know, that type of business.
Well, and quite honestly, and I hate to say this, but a lot of the phone calls I get are from agents who are really frustrated, and then they tell me it's family. family can be some of the worst people to do business with in my line of work, because you're talking about a 5-figure commission check. You get a $10, $15, $17,000 commission, and all of a sudden family's like, wait a minute, how much of that am I going to get?
Right. Yeah, I just did a transaction for my parents. I just sold their house. And I mean, they could not have had a better transaction. I got them the highest per square footage in their area. We didn't put the house on the market. I just called a few choice agents that sell in that neighborhood, asked if they had buyers, and I didn't charge them a commission. And not only that, the other agent reduced their commission from 2 point whatever to 1%. They only took a 1% commission to sell it. And I still think my father was still, couldn't we got another 30,000, 40,000 on the transaction if we'd went on the market? And so it's harder to satisfy people you already know. Hi, Christina. I'm glad you're now facing the right way. Do you want to unmute yourself and we'll talk a little bit? Can't hear you, Christina. Still can't hear you. I think there's something wrong with your mic. Maybe Alan can help her a little bit. We'll come back to you, Christina. Don't worry about it. We'll have plenty of time. We'll just come back to you a little bit later. Rhonda, Sher.
Hello, Stephen. How are you?
I'm doing very well. We've done a lot of business with one another in the last week.
We have, and we're gonna actually do some more. So that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, very exciting.
I just had a brain freeze. What was the question?
Oh, well, you can choose to answer the question, or you can suggest another question. But the question is, how was it? What did it feel like when you first started out and you wanted clients and you went to your family members and friends and colleagues and they didn't use you, or if they don't use you today, how does that make you feel, or how do you deal with that?
You know what? It's totally fine. I actually never went to my family or friends, which was kind of funny. I actually just thought there were more strangers out there that I hadn't met that could be my friends. I think that the thing that I have positioned myself in that way is, and this is kind of an interesting thing, because when it comes to choosing a financial advisor, for example, I would not choose a friend because I don't want the friend to know my financial situation. Now, here's the interesting part. The people that I work with that are not my friends, that are my professional people, become my friends, right? So, with LinkedIn, it gets very personal, because I ask people questions like, how much money do you want to generate every month? And how big is that gap? So if you say, great, I want to generate 20K a month and you're only generating 5, then we got a long way to go, if you're doing 15. So personally, I'm not offended, and I don't solicit friends in any way, shape, or form. That's just not how I roll. And the way I look at it, there's so many people out there that if friends don't want to use me, then I'm probably not the right person. Because if they're really a friend, they're going to know that I'm going to tell them the truth. I'm going to be really direct. I'm going to give them all I have and then some. And if I'm not the right choice, that's totally okay. I am really good with that. So that's kind of how I look at it. And like I said, the biggest thing I will tell you is that most of my clients become friends. And here's a perfect example. Saturday, I tried a brand new hairdresser, okay? And as I'm sitting there, with foils and looking like something from outer space, we started talking. And she said, oh, I need somebody to help me refinance my reverse mortgage. And I said, oh my gosh, I have the perfect person. And even if these two people don't end up doing business together, they will be the best of friends. Because, when someone's doing your hair, you get their life story, right? So I would just rather be that person that refers my clients to other people and doesn't go to my friends and say, oh my gosh, who do you know that? Or can I help you? The only thing I will go to my friends for, and my favorite 4 words, I need your help. Do you know anybody that's looking for a speaker on the topic of LinkedIn? That I will ask for. Because I'm not asking for their business, I'm asking for their help to help me expand my business.
That's
Great
sort of like what John recommends doing as well. Do you know anyone who could use my services? Do you find that friends and family ask for discounts?
Yes.
Are they sort of shocked when they find out how much you actually charge?
Yes. And what I typically will do when somebody does that is say, well, let me ask you a question. If I asked you for a discount, would you give it to me? And most of the time they say no. And so it's always kind of weird, you know. Um, so I don't really know, really how to answer that, but I have found that they do that, and
Well, the whole thing with discounts, I think in the age of COVID, it's sort of difficult to ask for discounts because I think a lot of people had time to determine what their real value was because all of a sudden people were reaching out to them for their help. I know people were reaching out to Jenny and they were reaching out to you, to help their
yeah.
branding.
The one thing that I sometimes will do, I've done it a handful of times, is I will do a barter with some people. So if somebody, for example, has a huge list and they will expose me to that list, I'll actually do their profile for them at no charge in exchange for promoting me and a testimonial. So, with the right person, I'll do that, and sometimes I'll actually offer a discount. I'll just basically say, look, I know that it's tough right now and I really want to help you. And I do that fairly often. I did that this morning actually with somebody. But because it's not about the money. It's never about the money. It's just about, how can you be of service? That's where I come from. How can I help? What can I do to support you?
Right, exactly. And I think that now people, things do cost more. People are aware of that. And I
Yeah,
don't,
and
and a lot of times I just don't want a discount because I don't feel that I'm going to get the full, they may discount their commission, but they may also discount their service.
yeah, I do want to add one thing though, which is kind of interesting. So many of you know Adam Connects, right? Adam Bricker from here. And if it wasn't for Rockstar, Stephen, I would never have met Adam. Okay. And I hired Adam because I'm creating an Adam Connects card. And my word is network, right? So the card's almost done. But Adam has gone so far over and above. In fact, he basically said, I'm taking this back from my team and I'm doing it for you. Right. And I did his highest level program. So, this group is absolutely amazing in terms of, what people will do for one another. And it makes me want to work with everybody in the group,
Well, I mean,
because of who
it
they
works.
are.
I mean, Mark Sher was so satisfied with the job that you did for him that Tommy Episcopo in his same company just basically called and said, I want you to do exactly what you did for Mark. I don't think he even asked you what it cost.
Yeah.
He just
Yeah.
said, do it.
It's just, it truly is. You've created something really amazing here. And I love it. And just the fact of how Adam he worked on the weekend for me. Who does that?
Mhm. Well, thank God for Adam. I think they're letting him out of his lockdown in Canada, at least for briefly, to see the sunlight.
Yeah, if you guys haven't checked out his program, you really should. It's phenomenal. It literally is a website. It's a multiple page website in a virtual card. So I had no idea how
Passing out
extensive it
cards, you
was.
should definitely be passing out what he's doing.
Oh yeah, phenomenal. So
For
yeah.
And also for text marketing, which
Yeah. Well, and I'm doing my course called Posting for Profit, which is LinkedIn Posting for Profit, which is going to be on August 17th. And it's $147. And literally, you will book 30 appointments in 45 days if you follow the system.
Please don't book that many appointments for me.
How about if I just get you that many more Rockstar hosts? Will that work?
That Rockstar host, I want tons of Rockstar hosts. Don't get me any more real estate business. Got plenty of that. Yesterday was like a slow work day. I didn't have a closing, or maybe I had a closing. I don't know. But I was doing other stuff, getting the house ready, and picked up, a listing and 2 buyers. Just in my email, people saying, could you please be my real estate agent? And for those of you that are watching, it's because I work my sphere of influence. I work my network. I've done it for decades now. And after a while, your funnel will just always be filled if you treat people nicely and you help them without expecting anything in return.
Dominic's a great example of that, right? I mean, Domenic, you're always helping people, and look at how your business has grown because of it, just who you are.
Well, right? and also it's it helps you so much to help other people, because you stop getting education at a certain point. You're not going to university. There's only so much you can get from the same book over and over again. But when you're dealing with people individually and you're mentoring them, which is what I love to do and I do all the time, that's when I'm really learning, because they're coming to me with problems that I'm familiar with, but also problems that I'm not familiar with. And that's fantastic. Also great to be part of a mastermind. And this is, I think, one of the highest level masterminds I've ever participated in, the 3 Martini Lunch. So Christina, we're going to try again. No shame, no foul.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
That's terrific, Christina. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about you?
Let me see. I'm 53 years old. Mother to
you were 53.
Yes, I'm 53. My granddaughter just turned 16 on the 5th of July, so we've been celebrating her throughout this month, taking her everywhere and brunches and all that. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a wedding and event planning company. I also have another business where we do taxes, business services, and consulting. One of my favorite things to do is to create nonprofits. I've been doing that since 1999. My business, my event planning company, I've had since 1994. I just became the host for the Buckhead area for the Rockstar Connect, so I'm really excited about getting started with that. I've been all over the world. I love people. I guess that's it.
It's pretty interesting that you're going to be doing the Buckhead group, because that is a phenomenal, large group with a very large list. You're going to end up with a very big event and going to be instant. Now, you probably are famous in Buckhead.
Not no, not yet. Not yet. Believe it or not, I'm actually introvert, extrovert. So I'm only extroverted when need be. I'm mostly, kind of holed into my little bubble, and just to do is, I've been in speaking. I've been, I had been in ministry for like 30 something years before I retired out, and just really just focus on myself and my business and my family. And so I've been away from ministry over like going on 10, it'll be 10 years in November. So I've been speaking on different platforms as a, being in ministry, but also doing events and conferences and all that stuff. So only on the moment when the light comes on, then I go, hi. And then after that, I go back into my shell.
Well, I'm sorry. I would consider myself a little bit of an introverted extrovert, but you're probably a little more extroverted than you're letting on. But Christina, so you're in the events business frequently, and there's a lot of competition in your region, in the Southeast region, lots of events. So you probably have a lot of friends that have not used you.
There's a lot of people who haven't used me. I recently moved to Georgia during the pandemic last year. My son was here in the Georgia area by himself. So I just felt like it was just time for us to reconnect, because he's also in business. And I haven't started yet. I just started a little bit, joining different groups, speaking to them. Not just about my business, but just trying to engage so people get to know me first before I start pitching to them about, what I do. One of the things I do have that's coming up is the Sexy Hot Red Affair Black Tie event. It's an event that I created for it's an event that I created for couples. I love couples, and even though I am not married, but I love couples and connection, and just to help them to have a healthy relationship. So I've been advertising that, but again, I think, before you try to sell anyone any type of service, an event is easy to sell, but service is a little bit different, because people want to know, well, why would I purchase from you? Who are you? How do we know that you are who you say you are, that you can do what you say you can do. So I'm just trying to engage a little bit more, within the groups on Facebook, and people are inboxing me and trying to connect and meet up with different people. So
Hey, well, I'm very impressed with you. Welcome to the Rockstar Connect family.
thank you.
Sarah and Kim have said you're very charming, and obviously you are. It was worth the wait to get you on the show today, even though you're upside down. And
Listen, my hair has caught on fire before, and I laughed. I promise it did. It caught on fire. I'll just tell a quick story. I was so tired. It was some years ago. You put the candles around the bathtub. I
Right.
went to lay back, and I fell asleep. And in my sleep, I'm going, I think my hair is on fire. And it was. And literally, I burst out laughing as I dunked my head up under the water. So don't pay attention to me. You can laugh at me because I'm a little quirky like that until I get the hang of things. So,
Well, I think it's really cool. I'm 52, so we're contemporaries. I'll be 53 soon enough, but you look very young, so you must be a very happy, good person. So thank you for being with us, and everyone here is going to connect with you, and people out on Facebook as well that are watching.
okay, thank you.
Share her what? LinkedIn. Oh, if you could please share your LinkedIn profile, everybody here would love to connect with you.
Oh, sure. It's Christina L. Turner.
Great, and you can drop that into the chat too, and Sarah.
Okay, definitely will.
Okay, Mr. Frank Lind. Hey, guess what, Frank? So I was watching some of your videos this week on your page.
Uh-oh.
You were pretty awesome, I have to say.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
It's very, very genuine, a very genuine, friendly. Everybody wants to be your friend, correct? So
I don't know. I'm going to ask the crew right now. I guess, I know Jay reached out, and, I saw, Damon was there, so we've connected. There's a couple guys that connected. We got to get together. It sounds like they'd be a hoot. Yeah, absolutely.
But what happens when a friend doesn't use you? How do you deal with that? And how do you do that? Help your clients with that issue?
I like to say no man is a prophet in his own country. It is what it is. You can't satisfy everybody. If I have a family member ask me for services, I actually double the price because they're just problematic. My sister reached out to me because she wanted to she works for a doctor, and she wanted me to help her doctor who's a little disheveled in her business. And she's like, what are you going to charge? And I'm like, it's not something you want to pay for. And I told her the price, and she's like, what? That's so expensive. And I'm like, okay, well, it ended there. But, I don't think that I think, as John mentioned, I think they see you. It's a great way of looking at it. They see you as, the guy who used to be, and it's hard for them to move you into that new arena that you've now taken an expert position in. My mom, I'm really big into mindset, as you all know, and performance, and eating right and healthy. And, it's when you got it, I don't even, when it's hard now to even say anything to your parents or your siblings, they don't really listen. So I kind of just take a step back and just allow them to live. So we all have one life to enjoy, and they enjoy it how they want, and if they do ever ask for assistance, I do the best I can to help them. But yeah, it's a challenge.
Well, it's very hard nowadays to leave your past behind. Very hard. I mean, I have friends on Facebook that I've known since elementary school, and I've had a lot of versions of myself. I mean, almost all the same, but some different versions. And people say, I knew you way back when. I said, and look, you knew me way back when, and there's nothing you can blackmail me with.
Right.
Nothing that I did. Everybody knows everything I've ever done. And, let's judge people on who they are today versus, this is a great country. I think it's getting much better. I don't want to deal with negative. I want to talk about the fact that, people are now able to actually rehabilitate themselves. People, can go to prison and pay for their crimes and come out and be a productive member of society. And that's the way it should be. If everyone should have the ability to reinvent themselves in a great way. Thanks, Frank. Really appreciate you.
You got it.
Katie, so the question. You didn't seem that you can choose another question because you don't seem enthused about it. What do you want to do?
Did you just say my name?
I said Katie. Yes, I did.
Oh, okay, I didn't hear that part. And then when no one else responded, I was like, was he talking to me?
It must be me.
No, I'm just extremely tired today. I had family in town all weekend and I'm just really tired. But no, I think it's a great question. And it's tricky, because like Rhonda said, you don't always want people to know your financial situation. And a lot of people are very adamant to never mix business with friendships. Other people don't care as much about it. Like, I just think you can't be offended. Like, if someone's not going to use you, I highly doubt it's because they don't trust you. I mean, I just don't. I really think that's like 1% of the time that would be the case. I think it's because they're afraid if something goes wrong, it could create an issue and ruin their friendship, because there are a million horror stories of people losing lifelong friends because of that exact same situation. Like, especially with realtors, I've heard so many stories about things going wrong with contracts and all these things, and they blame that. It's just, I would hate to lose a friend over that. And so I think the respectful thing to do, like I had a realtor friend last night tell me that another friend of hers took her out for drinks and was like, I just want to let you know I'm buying a condo, but I don't want you to be offended. I'm not using you. I just feel very strongly to not mix the two. And she's like, totally understand. Like, it's fine. I also have I'm very stressed for one day when I buy something. I have like 5 very, very close realtor friends. Like, being networking, like doing as much networking as I do, and in the business that I'm in, I meet a lot of people and they become my good friends. And so I already have anxiety, like, oh my God, like someone's going to be offended. It's just so
hire all 5 of them and say they can each get 20% of the commission.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But so maybe I'll just go the route of like, I don't want to mix the two, but I don't know. I'm far from that point in my life anyway. But
yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, it's just, so I get it. And with what I do, people aren't hiring me. I'm such a niche thing. Like, you donate to my nonprofit. So yeah, we use the services of lots of my friends, but it's usually donated, and it's just very different for me specifically. So thankfully I don't run into that too often. And the service a lot of my friends have aren't necessarily things that like I need, or, so just, it hasn't really affected me yet, thankfully.
Well, it's interesting. You talked about dealing with people that pretty intimately. There was an article this weekend that I read that said that everyone in the population has 2 embarrassing secrets that nobody else knows about. I would probably say that one of those secrets is probably having to do with the reason they may not want to use you. It's possible, because most likely one of those embarrassing secrets is probably financial. And of course, if you're dealing with financial services or real estate or coaching, finance is always going to come up. So Jenny, my question to you is, what are your 2 embarrassing secrets that nobody... Almost.
I see what you did there. I was ready.
Pulled it off. Almost got it. So you were the one who stimulated us to have this ability to answer an alternative question. Are you going to answer today's question, or do you have a question you'd like to submit?
I don't know. I'm going to answer today's question.
Okay, great.
I'm good. I think that so there's a couple of things. Like, number one, I don't expect that anybody is going to hire me ever. Like, I don't, like, I mean, yes, I'm in business for myself, and yes, I earn a living and all of those things, but I go into consultations with the expectation is I'm going to see if we're a good fit. I am not going to be the best fit for everyone. And I'm okay with that. Does it, like, there's a difference between business and feelings, right? And they're integrally, they're connected, right? You have to recognize that, like, your personal stuff affects your business. Like, let's have some self-awareness, people. But it's really about, like, can you feel the feelings and then move on from that and accept that that person with love, and maybe they wanted to go a different direction. Because that's happened a number of times where people have been like, yep, I'm in it, on it, whatever. And then they ghost me, and then I see, because I'm in a visual medium, I see that they have photos that were taken by another photographer, which, it happens.
You can almost accidentally slip in that situation when you know so many people.
Right. And yes. And like Katie, like I'm sitting here like Katie has my vibe, because that is like my biggest issue is, how do I choose? Like, if I'm going to choose a friend or a family member, well, no, I wouldn't choose anybody in my family for anything, but that's just because they don't have anything that I would need. Like, not because they're not nice people. But like, half of them are all teachers in other states. What am I going? That's not helpful for me. But and I have clients, like I have a subset of clients that are all realtors. What am I going to do? Be like, here's my Facebook Live and my reel of me picking a name out of a hat when the time comes. Like, that's literally what it would come down to.
That's a good way to prepare too, because I look at people on social media that I'm friends with on social media, either just on social media or in person, and I can see their whole network, and I can see their whole friends and who they interact with. And I know who you're going to use for a real estate agent, most likely. So I'm prepared for that mentally, that you're not going to use me. That being said, I know when you're making referrals, you're probably mentioning like 5 or 6 real estate agents that you know, that you trust.
I actually, that's one area that I've kind of backed off and tried to not give referrals for anymore. It's too hard. No, seriously, like, it's too hard, because when you have really great friendships and they're all good people, right? Like, we're in this and we're this group together, even here, because we attract like, right? Like attracts like. We're all good people. So how are you possibly, like, in your circles outside of this, you're still like attracting like, you're still attracting those good people. And when 6 of them happen to be realtors, and you have somebody that's looking for a realtor, you're going to hand them the list of 6 realtors, because what else are you supposed to do?
That's all you can do. And also, it's you're making a match. You're a matchmaker.
Yeah.
It's a shidduch, as they say in my language.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are just not the right match.
Right.
There have been people that have been referred to me, and I know, 3 days into this, I definitely don't want to sign an agency agreement with these people, because I'm not going to be able to help them.
Right.
We just don't do business the same way. I would rather be able to refer them to someone else. Not everyone's a good match. Sometimes, on Facebook, what's the game? You just mention someone's name because someone asked for a real estate agent or financial service advisor. I'm sure sometimes when you see your name mentioned in some forums, you cringe because you've developed a certain type of clientele that you want to work with.
Right. No, and that's absolutely true. And I think that, the buzzwords, and this is for anybody who's making referrals or receiving referrals, like buzzwords of affordable, reasonable, cost an arm and a leg, or won't break the bank. Like, if you're a service provider and you charge fees that are listed on a website somewhere, like, and somebody asks for that type of referral, don't send them to your friends.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because you're insulting your friends.
Right. I'm just thinking about starting a business. Can you refer me to someone? And they're not ready for it yet. As social media for so many people is about lead generation. They think networking is lead generation. Lead generation is about the worst thing. 2 words I've ever heard in my life. First of all, it's about relationship building, and social media is best for branding. So people know what your brand is, and they may not want to buy your brand. They may be Pepsi people and you're a Coke person. You're Coke.
That is accurate. But aside from I am a Coke person. But no, absolutely. It's for social. Social media is meant to be social, right? Like 80% of adults are on social media to connect and be social. So if you're only using it to push your business, you are hurting your business and your brand. And number 2, it is about building up that way for people to get to know you, like you, and trust you. It's just another avenue to do that. And the more that you can be less of an imposter and more yourself, the more business you're just going to bring in naturally.
And it's an excellent way for you to determine who your colleagues are in the
Mhm.
industry that you want to collaborate with.
Yeah.
You
And
can-
see
you
how
can-
people respond and like comment, and what's on their Twitter feed is important. Just gonna say.
Yeah, nothing on my Twitter feed.
There's nothing on mine either, but it's because I don't use the Twitter.
Yeah,
as
I don't
my
use
dad
the
says.
Twitter. They had one social media platform is about enough for me. Someone else can run the rest of them for me. Damon King, doing a lot of social media lately.
Yes.
You have a business that's all referral related. Were you upset when your mom didn't use you as a financial service advisor?
Well, the interesting thing is my parents are my clients now.
It took a while though, right?
Yeah, but do what now?
It took a while though, right?
Oh yeah, it did. It did. And I would say, everybody else here has kind of said some things that I've experienced. But kind of John mentioned that, well, my family has seen me as one thing and it took them a while to see me as another. That actually went for some of my colleagues in the nonprofit world. When I was there for 12 years, I was a great fundraiser, but that's all that they could see me as. So when I went to develop relationships, not only with my family, but with former colleagues, current colleagues, they couldn't see me as anything else. But for my parents, the one thing they couldn't see me anything other than is their son. And, I don't know too many parents who want to take financial advice from their kids. So, that's a roadblock that I had to overcome. But honestly, it didn't bother me because in many ways I was still learning, and I didn't want that responsibility yet. I wasn't ready to take on that responsibility. Not to mention the conflict of interest. Obviously my industry is heavily regulated, and I don't want there to be even the hint of any kind of conflict. I've got a brother. I didn't want him to think, oh, he's trying to take mom and dad's money. But eventually they saw that, okay, he's going to stick with this. It's not just a fad. And so they became my clients. But then I'm more like Katie in the way that I rejoice when the rest of my family doesn't want to be my client, because I don't want them as my clients. I have a very solid wall between my work life and my family life, because number one, many of my family members don't meet my minimums. I mean, I have a $500,000 asset minimum, and so many of them don't meet that minimum. And I'm not going to cut them a deal to slack just because they're family, because I'm still going to have to do the same amount of work. And yeah, they're probably going to gig me for a discount, and I don't discount my value.
You may not even be prepared for someone that only has $50,000 to invest. You're not familiar with products that are going to help them.
So that's just the decision that I made. But the other side of it is, I don't want to go to family gatherings and Christmas and Thanksgiving. I don't want to be at grandma's funeral and say, yeah, isn't it a shame that grandma died? Hey, tell me about Social Security. I really don't want that kind of thing going on. And so I want to be able to have relationships with my family and not worry about it. And so I don't actively pursue any other family clients other than my parents. And that's worked out great. And I'm happy to give all the free advice to my family as they want, because in that way, I don't view myself as their advisor. I view myself as a teacher. I'm educating. And if I can help them learn and educate them to make better decisions, and that's the other thing, is that as an advisor, sometimes I have to get real with people. I have to tell them, you're doing stupid. I don't exactly say that word.
I mean, you're in a very regulated industry, even more so than my industry. But I think you have made the perfect takeaway on how you can deal with friends. Can you imagine many of us, if we told our friends that we prefer not to do business with friends, all of a sudden they've been banging on our door, begging us to have their business.
Yeah.
Maybe we're asking for it a little too much, and maybe we should do a little bit of a takeaway.
Yeah. So I want my family, in fact, I want everybody on the social media that you're talking about, our radio show, our television show. I'm a teacher. I just happen to do it through the venue of financial advice, investment advice. And that's the way I view myself. the clients that I get today that join our family, they don't join because, wow, that Damon, he's the greatest asset manager of all. No, I'm not. And I tell people, I don't know everything. I don't have as much experience as other people. There are 10,000 financial advisors out there that you could go work with. I even asked the question, why me? Why are you sitting in front of me? You can pick up the phone and call anybody. What's so special about me? And so a lot of the times the answer is going to be, well, you seem to enjoy educating first and then worrying about the rest later. And that's true. People won't make a decision, a purchasing decision, until they can understand why they're making that decision. And so whether it's family or anybody else, I seek to teach first, then we'll enter into the business relationship second. But I don't have a problem when my friends and family don't hire me. I don't actively seek it out. I would prefer to keep a distance between those, my business relationships and my family relationships.
Excellent stuff. Thank you, Damon. Jennifer, great to have you back. Whenever we miss you for a week, I get a little nervous. Maybe Jennifer's not coming back.
Yeah, sometimes I just had to catch up on some things, and that's a good thing,
Yeah.
staying busy with my clients. But yeah, I have encountered that issue, and learned to get over that touchy-feely, kind of vibes from people, knowingly, obviously going with somebody else. At the beginning of my business, like 6 years ago, seems like a lifetime ago, but and I understand that completely. They want to go with someone that's more experienced, someone that has done this and has a bigger track record. So what I do from it basically is sort of say, well, what do I need to do to lessen that possibility of happening, and how do I refine my follow-up process? And so I gradually over time got better and better with that, so that they, are less, the people I encounter are the type of more quality leads that are less likely to do that. Before then, I was just talking with everybody, and I just was more likely to fail with, the great and not have the right kind of people. And now that, I have the right people to be doing the advertising creative services for, that, and the experience and the great, client, popular names of the large businesses in this area, then people will build up that trust. And then it's very rare for that to happen with me now.
It's sort of interesting what you're saying. You talked about follow-up and follow-up practices. Maybe a lot of people don't get business from family members and friends because they don't do that follow-up. They don't treat the relationship, that part of the relationship, professionally. Maybe the family member says, well, you're casual with me. I need someone who's not going to be casual when they're handling, the largest financial decisions in my life.
Yeah, they need to see your seriousness, and then how fast you can get to getting results for them.
Right. Or in the case of someone like Jenny, where she's involved in branding, well, you see me so much like, the girl that we went to high school with. You can never see me as the adult that I am now. So I really need someone else to handle that part of my branding. Thank you, Jennifer. I think you gave something there that wasn't added in the conversation, that everyone can utilize how you work with family members and friends. Domenic, what are your thoughts on that? And I think we've discussed this, you and I together personally, and we have a very similar, worldview on this.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I have some family members that are clients, and I have some that aren't, that I haven't even attempted to approach. Like Damon, I have issues with my core family, right? So my parents aren't clients, my sister and her husband aren't clients. However, it makes a little bit more sense that they're not when I explained that my father was in the same industry for 35 years and he's managing his own money and perfectly capable of doing so. So I don't worry too much about that. But I think there is an issue, like Rhonda says, is that you don't want the people that are closest to you to know, the innermost, like, kind of secrets that you're trying to keep hidden, about your finances and things like that, particularly when it comes to the business that I do and Damon does. Now, the one area where I do tend to engage friends and family on a little bit more than maybe on Damon's side of the financial advisory is the insurance piece. And that's just the sense to say, if I don't have this conversation with you and something happens, I don't know if I can look your spouse in the eye or your kids in the eye and say, I didn't even try to have this conversation and fix this problem that you may have. So I am more willing to at least engage in that conversation. And if they decline that, that's fine. I don't bring it up again, but at least I can sleep better at night knowing that I brought it up. Okay. So I'm willing to have that conversation. Now, coming into the business when I started, and when anybody starts a new business, they think the first people that they're going to talk to are their friends, their family, the people that they're closest to, because those are the type of people that are going to have a conversation with me, at least about what I'm doing now, just because I asked them to, based upon our relationship. And those are the ones that are going to disappoint you the absolute most, because those are the ones that knew you were doing something just 5 minutes ago that had nothing to do with what you're doing now. They know the knucklehead that you used to be. And, maybe there's some sour taste in their mouths from, some interaction before, why they don't want to engage with you on your new business venture when you start something. Well, and that's fine.
Part of this is the fault, I think, of a lot of sales trainers.
Yeah.
They tell you to go after family members because they're low-hanging fruit. They may not be low-hanging fruit. You just happen to know how much money they might have.
You may.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing about having the conversation with friends and family is that it does give you the opportunity to practice your prospecting, your conversations that you're going to be having with the general public in a safer space. So when I train my folks, that's what I tell people. Say, hey, it would be a personal favor to me if you would allow me to have this conversation with you. If for no other reason, one, that you understand what I do and can make referrals to other people for me, and two, so that I can have the practice of doing it. Look, I have no expectation that we're going to do business together. As a matter of fact, I want you to leave your wallet, your checkbook, and everything else at home. We're not even going to, I'm not going to sell anything to you, even if you want me to. That being the case, I just want to practice. I want you to tell me,
right. About active role play.
Active role playing with people who maybe aren't in your industry or don't live in your house. And you can get feedback from them on, hey, what would have convinced me to have this? Or how did this make you feel when I said this or I asked this question? And it helps you hone your skills, right? And, I think your friends that are willing to have that conversation with you are going to be pretty brutally honest. Like, I wish I knew Rhonda back when I was starting this, because I would love for her to tear my tail end apart and be brutally honest about my process, because it would have made me a lot better, a lot quicker. So, I mean, that's something that I do encourage my people to engage with their family about, is to have that practice. And there may be a possibility that when you're doing that practice, they just may say, you know what, I've really been meaning to do this. Let's just, let's go ahead and take care of this anyway.
I mean, you don't have to, with a family member, it's not about perception. I mean, they know whether you're rich or whether you're poor already. They don't.
Exactly.
You're not going to try to.
You're not putting on airs or anything like that. But, if you can get them engaged in that actual conversation, and it may spark something to where you can help them. And if you're doing something, if your business is something you truly believe in, which I hope to God it is, because otherwise, why are you in that business? Then if you're able to do business with your family or your friend, by definition, you're helping them get to a better position.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that be via real estate, whether that be through insurance, financial advice, social media strategy, whatever the case may be, you're helping them because you believe in what you're doing. It's just a matter of catching people at the right time. I don't, like I said, I don't recommend people stay away from friends and family, but I also say don't think that just because you have a large network to start off means you're automatically going to be successful right off the bat. The other thing, Stephen, that's very interesting is that when people do have a large natural market when they start a business, if they depend on those people to fuel their success, especially in the first year or two, it actually retards their business a bit. It slows it down because they don't actually spend time learning how to prospect. They had so much low-hanging fruit to harvest that they never got out there and started planting seeds of new relationships with new people to build their network, so that once their natural market dried up, they had a flow of new business that they could bring in. So, once if you just depend on that natural market at the beginning, you're going to eventually hit a point where you're going to experience a famine. And a lot of people get out of whatever business it is when they've exhausted their natural market, if they don't learn how to go out and tend to their own market, is like building a network.
100%. And another great use of family members is I always used growing up, my parents, I would tell them, my father specifically, I said, I have this idea. What do you think of this idea? Do you think it's crazy? And almost always he would say it's crazy. And I would just ignore him and I would do it anyway. But there got to be a certain point where my father said, your ideas aren't crazy. I just don't understand them. No, I just don't understand your ideas. I think you're obviously successful. Go with your own gut. So, your family can help you to think on your own and say that you are your own person. You've reached that level. Now the person I lean on a lot is my wife, Sarah, who's, co-creator of Rockstar Connect. I go, hon, do you think this is a crazy idea? And she's, there are no crazy ideas if you're able to put them into motion and make them happen.
Well, here's the other thing, and I think this where maybe
we'll do it
Steve,
together.
This may be, Stephen, where your dad is a really great sounding board for you, is that if you can explain that idea to your dad in a way that makes sense to him, you may have now found your elevator pitch, your translation from your brain to people who aren't thinking on your level, right? And that's basically how you have to get, especially when you're dealing with something that's a bit of a complicated idea. And the ideas, this, there's an elegance and a simplicity to them, but they start off a bit complicated because if they weren't, not everybody be doing it, right? So it's just a matter of translating Stephen to English, or I have that conversation with a lot of entrepreneurs because they're so into their business that they start talking and they've got their own code language and their own acronyms. They start spilling things out and like, whoa, let's break this down into normal English.
I think you found the real value of family members and friends way beyond a paycheck.
Mm-hmm.
It's your help. They're collaborating with you to make you a better, financial advisor, real estate agent.
They may not ever be your client, but they're absolutely cheering for you and they want you to be successful and they want to help. So ask them for their help and they'll do it.
Excellent. Great points. Devin, we're going to go to Devin and then we're going to let Jake close out the day. So you're a young entrepreneur, recently very successful. You must come across this all the time. I think where you're starting from and the product that you're selling, it may be an advantage to you. That probably a lot of friends do want to use you.
Yeah. So I didn't start off my first clients through family and friends. I did cold calling to get my very first clients. And then my bandwidth doesn't allow me to take on unlimited clients. So just like, a lot of people were saying, I don't press to take on clients or family and friends just because the relationship is different. And I have my system set up to be predictable. And when you have, a platonic or relationship in there, it can break those systems and makes things a lot harder. And I actually about 3 weeks ago had to tell a friend that I can't work with him just because the way he approached me. You know, I put a Facebook post offering free marketing audits, and he goes, "Hey," you know, he just starts blowing up my phone like, "Hey, I want this now." And he's calling me like 8 o'clock p.m. and I'm like, "Hey, man, you're gonna probably have to find someone else because like you're not even paying me money yet, and I don't want to deal with this kind of interaction. We'll stay friends, but I can't do business interaction with you." But the way my sales process works is I only educate people because at the end of the day, most people are using the avenues I offer. Like most people have some sort of website, they have a Facebook page, they dabble with Google Ads, they just don't know how to optimize it. And so what I do is I see these things and I just tell them, "Hey, you should do this, you should do this." And I just keep feeding them information. And what ends up happening is either they realize, "Hey, this is taking me too much time and I don't want to do it," or the guy who I'm telling to do all this stuff should have known this already. Why is he giving me all this information? And so eventually, in a matter of time, tips over where they go, "Hey, can you just do this stuff for me?" And that's how I collect most of my clients.
That's fantastic. And I think it's a great model, for all of us. And that's what, with Rockstar Connect, it's, people know how to network. They don't know how to network efficiently. In fact, I was talking to a very prolific networker yesterday who his whole life is networking and he has no time for business or for family or for friends. So you have to, there are systems out there. I'd be happy to sit and tell you how to do it more efficiently. And as a friend, I feel that it's going to improve your life. Did I want to charge him anything? Absolutely not. I just wanted to give him that lifeline. And actually, he's going to shadow me for a few days next week so I can show him how he can actually network and grow his sphere of influence from his sofa rather than driving all over town and flying all over the country. So, hey, Jake, I saved you for last today. So
Okay.
I wanted to get your impression. First of all, I wanted you to answer the question, but I wanted your impression of what everybody had to say. And everybody had something different to say. It's like there wasn't a lot of repetition here.
Isn't it interesting? I was thinking about this, as a psychological professional. I was listening to people and how our emotions, depending on how we want to deal with our emotions, because it's an emotional topic. Right? I mean, we're emotional people. We make emotional decisions, right? We would like to think we're pretty logical, but the truth of the matter is we make our decisions emotionally. It's what triggers us. It's our amygdala gets triggered and we make those decisions that way. And, I think everybody in some level was like, I love my family. I love my friends. I don't know that I really want necessarily to have them. I do on some level, but then I'm afraid. Because I think fear kind of drives a little bit, because what happens if it does go wrong? What happens to the relationship? What will happen if, my best friend uses my services? And then I think it comes down to the type of service that you have, right? Because I think if you think about Rhonda or people who are dealing in the financial industry, right? Or real estate, right? You and I both know real estate pretty well. When you're dealing with somebody's biggest financial investment, or their financial investments, friendships and family become very, very unique emotionally. And I was listening to the different people and the different things that you guys do, right? And the more financial it became, the more difficult that relationship is with your friends and your family. For people like me who are coaches and Frank and for, folks like that, and maybe even a little bit Jenny and Jennifer, and Devin, they're offering a service that's, a little bit different. And so maybe the friend thing isn't as big of a deal, but we do have to set boundaries, right? On who we will allow to do business with and who we're not. And that's a really important case. And I think Katie brings it up really well. And I thought Frank and John and Jenny and Damon, they set their boundaries. Boundaries aren't for other people. Boundaries are for us. That we set those boundaries for us so that we don't allow somebody to cross into our territory. We don't set boundaries to keep people out. We set boundaries so that we don't let too many people in or let the wrong people in. And I think I heard a lot of people talk about their own boundaries and how they set them. And I think that becomes critical to all of us, that if we don't understand what those boundaries are, if we're not really clear on what those boundaries are, then what happens is our friendships and our business and our family and our business becomes much more difficult to manage and to deal with. So I heard a lot of that. And so I think when I think about this whole question and this whole idea of, family, friends, and business. You know, I'm in a unique situation. I'm a coach, right? I coach, I life coach, business coach, right? You know, I have a podcast, I write books, right? That have been published in foreign languages and things like that. My family will support me in that. They're not going to be a client, right? My best friend, you know, aren't my clients. I don't know, and probably like Katie or some of the people, I don't know that I want them as my client, because we already talk about so many things on a personal level. I'm not so sure that, you know, it's going to work out that well. So I think it's an emotional thing, but I think it's such a complicated emotional thing, because it's not merely, I love you. I don't know that I want to work with you on that level. And I think that makes it a little awkward and different for all of us when we start dealing with that. But it's you know, it's emotions, and emotions are difficult. You know, what we feel right now is not what we're going to feel 15 minutes from now. And those things change. And family are the same way. And I think, you know, as John started out from the very beginning, he said, you know what, people know me as a drunken bartender, right? And now I'm a sober real estate agent. He says that it's on him. I don't think it's on him, because I think it's on the people to change their judgment. Because you've already done your work, John. You've already changed. Now it's incumbent upon them to see you in a different way. And if they can't, then I feel sad for them, because
it was memorable. You remembered it from an hour ago,
right?
Yeah. Also, I think what's fantastic, you know, about the people on this panel and entrepreneurs in general, we've had a lot of life experiences.
Right.
That people that have had a job have not had. You know, they go from one series of jobs to next. We go from complete different challenges, because that's what gets us excited. You know, you get bored with what you're doing and you try something else. So I can relate with my friends, family members, and complete strangers in different ways depending on where they are coming from. And still have that payoff, because it's not about the shekels and the moolah. Ultimately, it's about having a full expressed life and being able to share the story. I mean, you don't know John too well. I've had long conversations with John. He's a great storyteller, as are many of the people on this panel. And that's one of the things that we bring to the table, because some people just don't have a story. If you live your life in a cubicle, you don't have much of a story to share. And that's what we bring to our family. That's what we bring to our friends. And we make our family and our friends proud.
You know, I would add something about what you just said there. You know, right now we have to be all very, very careful, because there's a habit of isolation that we're getting in a very big habit of. And I just talked to a friend who's an MD, PhD, and he doesn't want to go to a conference because he's gotten so used to being at home and being in isolation. And we cannot be as creative as we need to be if we are in isolation, because it takes minds to work together and collaboration to open up our creativity. I would just caution everybody that if you're starting to feel more introverted, because I'm an extrovert, but I noticed that because of everything that's happened in the pandemic, I started feeling more introverted, and it's more difficult for me to want to go out, even though I'm a natural extrovert. And I have to fight this tendency to want to stay in and really start interacting with others, because that's where the creativity can come
from. I think we all have to probably go out and buy a new wardrobe.
Probably.
Some of us have clothing to fit anymore for us to go outside,
or at least pants. Since
at least buy some new pants. What's the style today? You know, what is everybody wearing? I don't know. I only see them from the neck up.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know. Is it, what's the outfit? Hey guys, this has been I was hoping that would be a good question, and I'm glad everybody answered it and you really shared. I think it's beneficial to everyone that's listening. Thank you. We went a little bit over. I appreciate all of your time. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. We have a lot of events going on all over the country, so please go to the Rockstar Connect website. We just compiled a list of cities that need hosts. So if you're listening and you want to know what it takes to become a host, reach out to us. Of course, our existing hosts would be happy to tell you about the experience they've had with us for years. and how we work together to create the society that we believe in. Thank you all. See you soon. Bye.